So it has come to my attention that authors hate using stock websites because of how complicated they are to navigate. And I am here to tell you, you are not alone. The first thing that happens when a client comes to me and says, I have this amazing book and here's the concept for it. As they are telling me this, I start to run through my head, what kind of stock photography am I looking for? And this goes from everything from post apocalyptic to alien clinch poses. Stock photos are at the very heart of what I do, and navigating a stock website is tedious. Now, there's a couple big players involved, and Depositphotos, Adobe Stock, and Shutterstock are probably the biggest three. I personally lean completely into Depositphotos. It typically has what I am looking for. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 5 tips to help speed up your process. And the first and probably most important is similar. We are going to do a quick search for man in suit. I'm thinking maybe a mafia book cover, and I need someone with a little bit of swagger, and I need to find something that is not on every book cover out there. So, as I'm going through, I'm going to find a gentleman who strikes my fancy. I want just a little bit of swagger. I want a little bit of something. And depending on what your mood or the motif or the intent of your book, you could pick any one of these images. So I'm just going to pick this gentleman right here. I could easily Photoshop him out of the background. I could put him onto a book cover, easy peasy. But he's on the front page of the search for men in suit. How much you want to bet this dude is on many, many book covers? Now, I don't personally mind that, but sometimes I like to try and find something a little bit more unique. So when you open up the photo, you have a couple options. Find similar images, similar royalty free images. And these are essentially the same thing. So what we're going to do is go through here. This one could actually work for me. So let's bring that up. Now, from here, I can see more based on that original image, or I can click find similar images. And now, what is it looking for? This is where you are going to start to kind of learn how Deposit Photo works. I can tell you what it's doing is it's looking for certain crop types, it's looking for certain visual content, and it is looking for the meta tags. The meta tags are really confusing because contributors who upload stock photos, there's no universal way to do metadata. This could be man in suit, it could be man with hair, it could just be dude. That's not super helpful. So the other thing that it does is it does go through and it looks up based on the image. It uses a technology very similar to reverse image search on Google, and it pulls some content. You'll notice that very many of these images, the men are cut off at the knee or the thigh because that original image I had him cut off at the thigh. So thighs work for me, but you know what? I need a full body shot. So I'm going to go in here. This gentleman looks pretty good. Find similar images. Suddenly, we have a lot more men with full body. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to keep doing find similar. You'll notice that there's going to be some faces that show up over and over and over again. And I'm willing to bet you the reason they're showing up is because of how popular they are, which means go check your genre. They might be too popular. But this is how I find a vibe. And like I like this gentleman right here. I like when they're playing with the cuffs. So let's see if we can find some more messing with cuff photos. Oh, even better. Unbuttoning jacket. He could work. I'm a sucker for a man with facial hair, so I always go hunting. I know for a fact that this man is on hundreds of book covers, so I avoid him like the plague. And some of this is just simply knowing. So, number 1 tip, use similar. Dig past the first page and use vibe to guide you. It will take a little bit of practice, but it will get you to some amazing photos that are not going to be on the front page. Now, tip number 2, filters. It's a very mixed bag when it comes to this. So let's look up, uh, I'm going to look up elegant couples. I could just use the word couple, but it is gonna just everything out there. So these are not exactly stock usable. Okay, we got some that I like to have a little bit more body. I don't like my photos to be super close crop because it means I have less to work with. I don't particularly like when there's extreme lighting. It means it's a little bit harder for me to crop. And if I keep scrolling, we're going to get into a danger territory that I cannot show you on YouTube. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to use some of the filters. Now, there is some big problems with these filters. They do not work 100%. They are not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. So one of the things I always like to do is exclude renders, but that it only excludes renders if the creator used the tag render. So you can see, okay, that's only showing me illustrated, so that was not helpful whatsoever. I want to look at isolated only. This means they're going to be on a more flat background. Okay, I do not like having illustrated, so we're going to switch into photos. Okay, getting a little bit better, but these are not exactly knocking it out of the park. Now, all of those um, photos that we had before, let's bring them back because there's a lot more variety here that we can work with. Now, gender is very, very difficult. It's not 100%. And when you're dealing with a couple, one of them has to be of a particular gender. But the problem is it is going to, based off the metadata that the creator put in. And they don't always put in man, woman. Sometimes there's a lot of in between there. And so I only use gender when I need to kind of switch up what I'm seeing, but not intentionally looking for something. Ethnicity, I find to be a mixed bag. I think it is extremely limiting. I know for a fact I was just looking for uh, a cover model of a black couple. I know that photo exists, and right now it is telling me that there are no elegant couples, which you're lying. So these are really difficult. I am not a huge fan of them, but there are a couple things in here that will save you some time. Exclude editorial, get rid of them. You can't use them. It's not allowed. You don't want them. And there's nothing more aggravating than you find the perfect picture of the Eiffel Tower for the background of your French rom-com and come to find out you can't use it because it's an editorial photo. So just exclude them up front. It will save you some time. The other thing, if you are concerned with using AI on your covers, there is supposedly an AI content down here. I don't think it works because, again, the creator has to put it in. But when AI started to make its appearance, you can push back further if you want. That is something that can come in handy. All right. Image size, exclude keywords. This sometimes I will use for portrait. I want to get rid of all the portraits. Unfortunately, apparently, it got rid of some really great photos. So again, this can speed up for some very particular things. I pretty much only use it for people only, number of people, and if I am hunting for isolated photos. The rest of it, I use the search bar to help narrow it down. But I don't let the search bar get too complicated. I prefer the similar method. All right. Here is the big one that I'm going to tell you right now is going to make things so much easier for you. It is best if you favorite anything that you think might be usable later. So this particular photo right here, I could see using these models for something. I don't know what, but I could. So I'm going to click favorite, and you're going to notice I already have a bunch of folders in here, and it is based off stuff that I do for my clients often. So people, just go into the people folder. This might actually go into the man chest folder. I can see using that man chest. So let's go look at what my favorites are so you can see how I'm using them. Now, favorites are not necessarily the image that I want to use. This is a big deal. So I'm going to actually take you into my personal folder. It's going to be a mixed bag. And you can see I have different body types that I wanted to hunt down. I wanted some muscular, I wanted a little bit of, muscular, I wanted some chunky, I wanted diverse body types. Of course, you can see there's a lot of abs in here as well. And because I do superheroes, I pull parts off of these other models. And look, our favorite model who shows up literally everywhere. Now, the reason that they are here is not because I'm necessarily going to use this photo. This is called what I refer to as my jump off point. I'm going to pull up this person because I like this particular photo and I like this pose. I could work with this pose in a lot of different ways. So it's my jump off spot. Now, the reason I save it as my jump off spot is as people are adding in photos that might be similar, they will start to propagate here. Again, it's based off popularity, so I can always and look, I have some great photos of men with their arms not down at their sides. That's essentially what I was after. So, using favorites as a jump off point is a really good way of saving time. Now, does it save you time up front? Not so much. But every time you come across a photo where you're like, huh, I might use that, save it. So let's go look at one of my other favorites. So I was doing a lot of sci-fi covers for a while, and there are robots involved. So finding robots is a little dicey because there are certain licensing issues. Like, are we too close to the T1000? So I like this particular image and I really like the superhero pose we've got here. So let's go through and see what other robots are available. This is a jump off point for me. And because I am always pulling them out of the background, it is extremely helpful to have a jump off point that's already an isolated image. This is how I speed up my process. Also, notice when you are doing jump off points, there is no bar on the left hand side. So, jump off points are great. They're a little bit hard to control, but I don't want to control them. I want to see what deposit photo can show me that I haven't already found. So, use your favorites as a jump off point, not I am definitely going to use this. So you want men in tuxes, add a couple men in tuxes that kind of work for you and you can jump off from them. That's why you always see the super popular people in my folders. It's because they are my jump off point to other models. All right, favorite everything. That is just, I can't, you can't go wrong with that tip. Now, another thing that I'm going to suggest is favoriting creators. Now, I don't particularly like how Deposit Photos has authors. Here are the 4 that I'm currently following. Well, that doesn't help me. So what I wind up doing is I just add a bookmark to my search bar and I label them Manchester, CGI renders, or whatever have you. So you can see, and I am not going to scroll further down, that this particular Vish Studio has some really great, well lit models. 5,268 models to be exact. So for me to go through this, I know I can reliably find even lit models. I can find mood lighting with models. I know that this particular creator has something that I use regularly, so I bookmark them. But I also do some really interesting sci-fi stuff, and so because of that, I wind up having to photo bash a lot of CGI renderings. So what happens is I might need these wings for something. Ooh, those are actually some really good wings. I'm gonna set those aside. I'll use those later. I even know that I like how they rendered them. So that's gonna go in my things folder. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'll use that as my jump off point for later for looking at wings. So bookmarked creators that you like, if you see a photo that you absolutely love, find out who made it, bookmark them. Chances are it's not a one-off. These are professional photographers and they are sharing their stock photo. So just like you want readers following you, authors follow your favorite stock photos. The last thing that's going to be important is use metadata to your advantage. So we are going to find woman in red dress elegant. I knew this was going to show me some cool stuff. All right. So if I like this particular photo right here, but the find similar is not quite working for me, what I can do is go to file info and I can come down and look at all the metadata that has been put in. So passion, desire. Ooh, I haven't done a lot of searches for desire. I'll include that in the future. Attractive, provocative. That's a good word. Sexy, that tends to go a little too sexy. Glamour, that's a great one. Dynamic. So you are seeing the language that photographers speak. So as you are going through this and you find some photos, you're like, man, these are really amazing. Go look at what keywords they are and set them aside. Start a little Excel file. And these are great descriptors that will help speed through. So next time I am doing this, I will say, woman in a red dress, glamour. You're going to see a lot of the same images. Oh, that's a new one. Ah, and there she is isolated. So there's a bunch of usable images here. And all it took was one word change. So my last tip, use metadata to your advantage. All right, gonna stop there. Those are 5 tips that will hopefully have you speeding up your process. It is important not to spend all your time looking for stock photos. You've got money to make, you've got a project that needs to get finished. It is important to get in, get out without going into the doom of scrolling forever looking for an image. So hopefully this will speed you up. We'll do a couple more videos about how to find some quality stock photos, but speed up your process. You got books to write.